डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Hello students, welcome to the Chaitanya studio of Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. Myself Dr. Shivang Patel, Associate Professor, School of Computer Science at Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. We have already completed the first unit, that is the basic introduction of Linux operating system. Now today we will start with our second unit, that is file system for Linux or Unix. Before we start, just revise the few of the topics of the first unit. In this we have already seen what is operating system. In block 1 and 2 you have already seen the basic functionality or basic features of operating system. It is in general features or general functions. In block 3 we have just started in unit 1 specifically Linux operating system. So as you already aware that operating system, that is nothing but the interface between user and the hardware. If you want to use any hardware devices, you are requiring to install operating system. So operating system is the bridge, you can say that it is the interface. You have seen that multiple example of operating system broadly classified as single user, single tasking, multi-user, multitasking. In multi-user multitasking operating system, the examples are Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac, iOS, all are the multi-user operating system. In your syllabus, basically it is focused on the Linux operating system. In the previous unit, we have seen the basic architecture of Linux operating system. So as you already aware, the main role or the function of operating system is to interact the user with the hardware system. So here in the Linux, basically this architecture contains two main parts. One is kernel and one is shell. As we have discussed, kernel is the core of operating system. Suppose you want to execute any of the command, that commands that can be executable by the kernel platform. If you want to tell which command you want to execute, in that case computer system that cannot understand your command, in that case you are requiring some interpreter, and the task or role of the interpreter that can be performed by the shell. So the duty of shell or the responsibility of shell is that whatever the user tells in form of commands, that will be converted into the whatever the machine understandable form, and it can be passed to the Linux kernel, and the duty of kernel is to execute that command, and whatever the output that can again pass to the user to the shell, and then after through shell the user can easily understand. So this thing we have already done in that first unit in which we have seen the kernel and shell. Now we are just starting with our second unit, file system for Linux operating system. So in this unit the agenda is we will see these of the topics, so learner can understand how to create or modify the files and directories. These are the learning objectives. Use the general purpose commands on Linux file system. In previous unit we have seen some very basic commands. Date command we have seen pwd. So these are the very basic command, but in this unit we will see commands that are based on the file system or the directory system. Then after, set the permission of files and directories. As you already aware, the Linux operating system that focuses also on the authenticity of the user and the security of the particular file. So how you can give the rights to the particular file for particular user, that we will see also in the form of commands. And then after we will see the create user and the groups. So each and every file or each and every directory that can be accessible by some of the users or multiple users that combines in a one group. So these are our learning objectives for this unit 2. Now just starting with the introduction part. Now first, what is file system? So file system is nothing but it is the logical collection of files or on the disk. You can say that any partition of the disk. Now in Linux or Unix, any of the devices, any of the input output devices, that can be also treated as the file system. So whether it may be printer, it may be RAM, it may be mouse, all are treated as a file system. So whenever you are installing the Linux or Unix operating system, you can see in the directory structure that all the devices are, you can see in the form of the file itself. Now the Linux directory and file system commands that make it popular, powerful and secure operating system. Now types of files. So whenever you are talking about the Linux or Unix operating system, the files that are broadly categorized into three. First is ordinary file, second is directory file, and third one is the device file. We will move with one by one. First one is the ordinary file. It is also called regular file. So this file having some specific format, and that format is fixed. So whatever the files that can be included in this ordinary file, it may be the text file, that means simple text context may be there, some binary files may be there, some executable files, some coding that may be also possible in these files, some external commands that can be also in the form of this ordinary file. So you can see on your screen that these are the contents that can be included in your ordinary file or the regular file. Now these are the files that can contain executable file, program data, then after the data files or external Unix command. Then after the directory file. So the previous file that we have seen, that is the ordinary file. So ordinary file, regular file, executable files or any of the file that can contain within some structure of directory. So as you already aware in Windows platform, the directory is nothing but a folder. So whenever you want to create any directory, you can create a folder. Inside that folder you are creating multiple subfolders, or you can create a file according to your requirements. Same way here in the Linux or Unix operating system, that folder is considered as a directory. So you can create the directory. Inside that directory you can create subdirectories also, or you can create directly that files also. File may be your text file that contains some text data, it may be some binary executable files, it may be some code. So any of the file you can create under the directory or under the subdirectory. So any of the file, it may be the special file, it may be directory file, it may be ordinary file, all are under the directory system or directory file. Directory file also contains some subdirectories as well as files also. So basically two files with the same name that cannot be possible on a single root or single platform. As you already aware, suppose you are creating some folder in Windows operating system, the same name folder you cannot create in the same drive or in the same partition or within the same folder. Same way here, suppose you are created one file and you want to create the same name file or the directory within the same location, in that case it is not possible. Now each file has its unique ID. So you already aware that each and every file that can be identified by using some specific ID, and that is unique to that particular file or particular directory. So each and every file that can be identified by using some specific identification number, that is called UID. How you can see that particular unique identification number, that we will see in this session by using the command. Now in the Linux, the directory structure, you can see here in the figure or in the diagram that the first or the root directory that can be indicated by the slash, that is the backward slash. So whenever you can see this backward slash, it is nothing but the root directory. All other directories that resides under these directories. So you can say that the root directory or the parent directory, that is the slash, under which all the subdirectories are also there. This directory contains also another subdirectories, or they can contain some files also. So you can see all the subdirectories that are listed here. Say for example, binary files that are listed here in the directory called bin. So slash that indicates the root directory, then after bin, that is the directory, and inside that directory all the binary executable files or your commands that are executing in the Linux system, they are available in this bin directory. Then after etc s, that is secured bin, user, temporary files, variable files, device files, home directory or library files, or MNT files, maintenance files. all those files that can reside in specific directory, and all those directories are listed here after the root, right. So all these are the directories and they are bifurcated according to which kind of files that are stored in particular directories. Say for example, all the user information that can be stored in the user USR directory, that is the parent directory that can store all the user information. As you already aware, in the first unit we have seen each and every user having their separate file or separate directory, because in client server architecture there is one server and multiple users or multiple clients are there. Suppose you are logged in as a user 1 or as a client 1, then your home directory may be client 1 or the user 1. Suppose you are logged in with the client 2 or user 2, your home directory that may be changed to user 2 or the client 2. So whatever the number of users that are available for particular client server architecture or particular system, all user home file that can be stored in the user directory. Now you can see in the user there is again some multiple subfolders are there, bin is there, include is there, library is there. So according to which kind of file that can be stored in particular subfolder, subdirectory or the directory, this classification that can be done. So ultimate thing is that the root directory, that is the parent directory, that is slash denoted by the slash backslash, and all other subdirectories that can be resides under the directory, and they are bifurcated according to the kind of file that can be stored in particular directory. I think you are solved that particular issue if you are having that concept of directory and the root directory. Now the next is device file. So in the previous session as well as in the beginning of this unit 2 of block 3, we have seen that everything that can be treated as a file system in the Unix or Linux. So we have already discussed each and every devices, whether it is keyboard, mouse, RAM or anything else, they are also treated as a device or directory or the file system. So all those devices that can be stored in particular file, and that is nothing but the device file. You can mention with the help of /dev, that is device. So dev, that is the device directory in which all those files or all those devices that can be stored as a file system. You can see here on the screen, say for example USB is a device, hard disk, CD-ROM. So all those devices having their separate file and they are all stored under the device directory, and that can be indicated by a slash and the dev, that is device. So we have discussed three types of file. First one is the ordinary file, second one is the directory file, and third one is the device file. All these three files that is based on the Linux file system or Linux directory system. So in the question, like the architecture, or you can say that the file system of the Linux, so you have to explain all these three files. Now next we will start with the commands related with the directory. So in this unit basically you can see the commands based on directory as well as the files. So first of all you have to understand the difference between the directory and the file. So whenever you are creating a directory, so directory is the parent or the platform on which you can create another subdirectories as well as another files, and the file, that is nothing but the correction of contents. That content may be the text content, may be the binary executable file, may be the code, or may be some special files. So whenever you are directly use some of the content to store into particular location, it is nothing but the file, and multiple files that are grouped together and you can store in some one platform, that may be the directory or the subdirectory. So these are the different commands that we will see in this session that are based on the directory related commands. So one command, that is pwd, that is print working directory, or you can also say that the present working directory. Second command that we will see, that is cd, that is the changing directory. Third command that we will see, mkdir, to make the directory in the Linux platform. and then after the next command, that is rmdir to remove the directory. So these are the directory related commands. Now we will start with our first command, that is pwd. You already aware in the first unit we have seen that all the commands that we are running in some terminal, right. So in the first session or in the first unit we have already seen that the terminal is nothing but the black screen, just like a command prompt in Windows operating system. You are having multiple ways to execute the command in Linux or Unix operating system. The first way is that you can directly install the Linux operating system like Red Hat or some Ubuntu or Kali Linux by in some separate partition in the hard disk. So multiple operating system on multiple partition, that can be possible, that is the one way. Second way, suppose you don't want to partition your system and don't want to install the Linux operating system in some specific partition, then you are having one alternative. You can use the virtual box or the virtual machine, on which you can use Windows platform or Mac platform or iOS platform. You just need to install the virtual box or the virtual environment. On that virtual environment, you have to install your Linux or Unix operating system. So it is not required to separately install in the partition in that case. That is the second alternative. Again, suppose you don't want to use that virtual box or virtual machine, that alternative, then another alternative is this. You can just simply install some emulator that allows you to execute whatever the Linux or Unix command on Windows platform or Mac platform. So WSAT, that is Windows platform on which you can execute whatever the Linux command. So that is the third alternative. We have already seen that in the last session. You just open that particular terminal and you can able to execute whatever the Linux or Unix command on that particular platform. So now we will start with the directory of system commands in the Linux. So first of all, the pwd, that is the print working directory. So you can see this command that can print the name of the particular present working directory that you are currently logged in as a user. Now as an output, it will show you the absolute path of the current directory. Now it contains only two command flags as an option. First is option is P, that prints the actual path, and second one is L, that prints the symbolic path. Now you have to understand that basically what is PW, how you can execute, and after executing that PWD command, what will be the output. So whenever you are executing this pwd command, you can see on your screen, this is the terminal that we have already seen. Now in this terminal, you can see, suppose you can write pwd, that is the print working directory command, and after pressing the enter, you can see here the current directory, that is /home and /pcr. As we have already discussed, that slash denotes the root directory. Inside that root directory, we have already seen multiple directories are there: bin directory, tmp directory, home directory, user directory, right. So this home directory, inside that home directory, there is the directory called pcr. So pcr is nothing but my username that I currently logged in. In the last session, we have discussed the who command and who am I. So suppose you want to list out whatever the number of users that are currently logged in. If you want to see that thing, you can use the who command, and you are requiring to see only your information, that you are logged in into which terminal and as which user. In that case, you can use the option called m and I. As you already aware, any command that can be used with the argument with some options, they are not mandatory, but if you are requiring some specific information, in that case you are requiring that options also. So here in pwd, you have seen in our PPT that two options are there, L and P, capital L and capital T. As you already aware, Linux is commands all are the case sensitive. So mind well, capital letter and small letter having both different meaning. So if you are using pwd command with capital L letter, then it prints the symbolic path. Now what is the meaning of symbolic path? So symbolic path, that nothing but whenever you are creating any of the file or whenever you are surfing any of the file or directory, then it can be related with some other files also or it can be linked with some other files. So it is not actually the targeted location, but some targeted location that can be also possible with some alias name. So the alternative name that can be defined or displayed by using here symbolic path. But suppose where actually your directory or file locates, you want that whole path, in that case you can use the command capital P. So it will define you the actual path. That actual path is nothing but the particular file or directory that can be located at which location, the original location, that is some root directory, then after some directory, then after some subdirectory. So this whole path, that particular file actually resides, that you can see in this actual path, and the symbolic path is nothing but the link that can be passed whenever you are pressing to that particular location, that is the symbolic path. Now you can see here, whenever you are using that pwd command, you will see home and PCR. Now suppose I am logged in with some different client or different user, here the pwd command, the output will be changed. It will display the current directory which you are logged in, right. So according to the client information, according to the user logged in, that information may be vary by using the pwd command. Now next command, that is mkdir, you can say that the make directory. Now suppose you want to create any of the directory or some of the directory within the already directory which is already existing. In that case you have to use that particular command, that is mkdir. Mind well, we are creating the directory, not the file. Both are the different thing. So whenever you want to create the directory, you have to use the command mkdir. You already aware with the command md, that is make directory, in the Windows environment. Suppose you want to create directory in Windows platform, you are using the command that md or mkdir. Same way here, you can use mkdir command to create a directory in the Linux environment or in Unix environment. So this command is used to create a new directory. Now this command is followed by the name, by the directory to be created. The syntax that you have to keep in the mind, after $prompt, as you already aware, the shell is ready to take the command. The shell may be C shell, con shell, call shell, bash shell. So these are the different types of shell, but the ultimate thing is that it is command interpreter. Whatever the command you are telling to the system by the terminal, so it can be interpreted and it will pass to the kernel. Kernel will execute it. So based on which language or which code that can be used to create a shell, the different types are also there. We are using the bash shell in our programming. So directory, that is nothing but the folder in Windows environment or any other operating system that we have seen. Now this command can also be used to create multiple directories. The only thing is that the rights that can be given to you or not. As we have already discussed, basically two types of users are there. One is normal user or regular user, another is the super user. So normal user cannot have all the rights, but the super user having all the authentication rights. Whatever the privileges that are super user privileges or administrative privileges, that can be accessible to the super user. If you are normal user, in that case you can create only single directory at a time. But if the super user having given you some of the rights, in that case you can create multiple directories by using the same command. Now you have to set the permission. We will see how you can create the directory. So this is our terminal screen. Now suppose you want to check whether the directory is already there or not. So ls command is there, that is the listing file or listing directory, that we will see in our next subsequent sessions in the file commands. We are currently seeing that the directory commands, but you can get the idea which directories or which files that are currently available in the system. You can use that command ls, that is listing file. So right now there is no directory or no file available that user have created. Now suppose you want to create, then you can use the command called mkdir. So I am using here mkdir command, that is my command name. Then after space, and then after you have to use the directory name that you want to create. Now suppose I am giving the directory name my directory 1. Now remember one thing here, you must have to follow the basic conventions while creating a file or while giving the name to that particular file or the directory, right? So you can use alphanumeric name to your directory name or the file name. The file name and the directory name, it is advisable don't use space in between. You can avoid some special symbol, say for example dollar or any other symbol in the beginning of the directory name or the file name. These are some basic convention that you must have to follow while giving the name of the directory or the file. Now you can see I have given the name my dir1. So I have given this convention, say for example the first name M is capital, then after D is capital. So then after press enter. So now this directory is created and this is the empty directory. No content is there inside that directory. Now how you can see that this directory is created or not? So you can see the command ls. So you can see previously whenever we are executing the ls command, no content will be there. That means no file or no directory is created in that particular current directory, that is /home/pcr. Now we have created one directory with name mydir1. So after executing the ls command, you can see that directory that will be displayed. Now this directory is empty directory, there is no content inside that. Now suppose I would like to create another directory, then the same command you can use mkdir and then after the directory name. Suppose I am giving the name mydir2. So now this directory is also created. This is the empty directory. How you can see? With the help of ls command, that is listing file or directories. So you can see these two directories that we have created with the help of mkdir. Now both the directories contains nothing, that's why it is the 0 size directory. Now suppose you want to create some file, you want to create some another directory, or you can say that the subdirectories into this already existing directory, then you can also create with the help of mkdir. Now remember one thing, whenever you are using this mkdir command, then this mkdir command that will create the directory. Now suppose you want to create subdirectory, in that case your directory must that is the current directory. Now suppose I would like to create one subdirectory into my dir1 directory, then I must have to change that particular path or particular device directory prompt. In that case I can create the subdirectory. So you can see here the syntax that we have already seen. Now suppose you want to find the documentation of particular mkdir, then you can use mkdir, then after hyphen or dash and help. So this terminal give you all the basic options that are related with mkdir. Another is mkdir v, that is verbose. Now suppose you want to see all the information directory by directory, then you can use this command. Now you can see mkdir and then after v option, then it will display the missing operator because we have not mentioned here the directory name. Now suppose you want to create some directories, say for example multiple directories. I am creating few more with multiple directory name with space. So here two directories I have given that name mydir3, mydir4 with v option. So you can see here these directories are created and listed in a single line. So v option, that is nothing but the verbose information. Whatever the directories that you are creating, that one by one it will be displayed in the output that directory is created. Again remember one thing, that suppose the directory is already there, it is already created, it is existing and the user is trying to create that directory. In that case the error message will be prompted by that particular terminal or particular command prompt. Now you can see here, this is the output. Right. Now in the today we have already seen these two basic commands, pwd and mkdir, that deals with the directory file system. In the next session or subsequent session, we will move, we will see some of the more commands with the directory as well as the file. So till then, thank you.